What happens in most advice businesses, especially ones that start from scratch, is that advisors try and be kind of everything. They try and wear, the compliance hat, the investment hat. Everybody ends up being a bit Dennis Denuto in their experience. What we learnt pretty quickly was that, the minute we brought in a really good governance guy and, really good portfolio admin people and really good administration people, the time that we had to go and actually spend on finding great investments and looking after the clients just meant that we could just take on so much more growth.
Yeah.
So I encourage every advisor in every advice business is over apex on your investment in your resources, and you will absolutely see the benefit of it over a period of time.
In that time, your story starts at a bank and becoming an advisor at a bank. Not too many young advisors listening to this would have a similar story, because the advice landscape has just changed completely over that 25-year period. What are some of the big changes that stand out for you, but probably for the young advisor audiences listening today? What are some of those changes that you're still seeing today playing out that they should really be aware of?
When I first became an advisor, it was all about product. It was all about trying to sell managed funds. It was all about effectively being a distribution for product. And I think a lot of that came from that, remember, lots of the early advisors in our world were people from the insurance industry. So they were very adept to selling, and it was all about generating a commission, and it was all about having as many of these people who were stuck into a product that would pay you a commission. The major shift has become about advice. It's become about meeting people's needs. And that's obviously, very positive, and it was absolutely needed to occur. The other major shift clearly has been the significant move in governance and education standards. So post the Hayne Royal Commission, we had this massive change to our businesses in terms of what we needed to do from a compliance and governance perspective, but especially the educational requirements. So remembering that the advice industry's gone from having like 25,000 advisors down to 13,000 or whatever it is now. And while some of those changes were actually really quite painful and pretty annoying, so even a guy with like 20 years experience like me had to go back and do a couple of bridging courses to make sure that I was qualified. So I was less qualified in the regulator's eyes than somebody who had done 2 years of experience, right? And that was annoying.
Yeah, I imagine.
And it's like turning the QE2 around, right? It takes a long time for this big ship to turn around. What you've now got is better people who are more well educated, who aren't coming in to be salespeople, who are coming in with these kind of professional service standards. And rather than kind of this being the kind of occupation that you kind of got to because you couldn't do anything else, we're now competing for the talent with accountants, lawyers, doctors, etc., because people really see the value in what they bring, what they're able to do. And these are great businesses to work in and great businesses to own, because you've got more and more people who need the service, and you've got less and less people doing it, right? So just the simple supply and demand dynamics means these are great businesses to work in and great businesses to own. And the thing that had to happen was those standards had, the bar had to rise, and it did, and we're now absolutely seeing the benefit the benefit of it.
Was 25,000 advisors enough? What's the equilibrium, do you think?
We went to an industry thing only a couple of weeks ago, and it was about high net wealth individuals in the high net wealth market, right? Which every advisor will tell you they want to work in the high net wealth market, because simple maths tells you that the more money the client's got, the more revenue you're going to produce. Yeah. The stat that we saw was that high net wealth and ultra high net wealth individuals. So the way they sort of described that was a high net wealth individual with someone with sort of $2 to $5 million of investable monies, and somebody with like 5 to 100 was an ultra high net wealth individual. There was a study done that in those two brackets there were 440,000 people who are effectively unadvised.
Wow.
In the ultra high net wealth and high net wealth market, there are only about 2,000 or 2,500 advisors. So if you think about the addressable market that we actually have available to us, it's like people will go, oh, who do you compete with? At Viola Private Wealth, who do you compete with? Coda, Crestone, Scala, UBS. It's like no one. Like
Yeah.
the reality is there are enough clients for all of
Yeah.
us. So really the job should be, let's
Let's
all
go.
just do a
Yeah,
better
yeah,
job.
yeah.
Let's all just do the right thing by the client, and then we will all benefit from this, and we'll provide a really good service. The problem we all have, and the problem that the industry has, is that because of all the governance stuff that's gone on, the cost of advice has gone up fairly significantly. So where the cost of advice previously was offset somewhat by product providers, so A&P paying big commissions to advisors, with a bunch of that gone, with a bunch of the vertical integration gone, and the sort of the conflicts being removed, now everybody just wants to service that bit of the market, or the top bit of the market, and nobody wants to service, because if there's 400,000 in the top bit of the market, then
Millions.
Obviously there is 6 million in the bottom part of the market that nobody wants to service unless you come up with a really efficient way of doing it. So yeah, like I said, these are great careers to have. They're great businesses to own. And those of us with good systems, good processes, great infrastructure are really going to benefit from that over time, because we're not really competing with anybody, because the addressable market's massive.